We'll probably end up getting COVID Friday. All right. This is Chairman Victor Jones. We have the Wednesday, January 19th meeting of the City High Point Public Safety Committee. Here present, I've got with Councilman Britt Moore. Councilman Chris Williams is under the weather, will be unable to attend today. Councilman Johnson has texted me and said that he will be en route within the next few minutes. But in respect to everybody's time, I figure we'll go ahead and commence the meeting and let the presentation start. He'll be here in time for us to take any action if need be. First item on the agenda. Well, first, I want to say thank you to Chief for allowing us to host a meeting here and see the new police department. It's beautiful. I'm excited for all the officers to be able to use this new facility and have more room to stretch your legs out a little bit than you did over there on Leonard Street. Our first item is item 2022-28, High Point Police Department year-end update. Chief Stroud will be presenting.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. I appreciate it. Thank you. Am I good up here? Very well. Thank you. Appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully, too much trouble getting in the door. Make everybody sign in, secure facility. I know it's something new, but we're going to make sure we follow our security process every single time. So just take a little bit of time to learn, new way, new building. So we appreciate you having us and letting us present on our year end. Now, before we get started on the presentation, we'll let everybody, our year end report will come out a little bit later. It's a very comprehensive report. It's pretty in depth. So a lot of things that you see today will be included in that report when it comes out publicly. You're more welcome to look at it. A lot of things are included though, but we'll just hit some of the highlights here from each division. So I did not have to bore you with me sitting up here talking the whole time. I do have all of our assistant chiefs here with me today, and each of them will do their presentation on their particular division. But a couple things I want to make sure we hit every single time. Patrilla's big on our branding. She's going to get on to me if I don't. So we'll make sure we hit our brand. Everybody knows we recently changed our model in August of 2020. A lot of changes around the police department at that point in time, but we redid a lot of our strategic model, specifically focus on several things. And that model will stay consistent. We've been working on it pretty hard throughout the department. You know, we center everything around here on leadership and employee development. Our people are probably not probably, they are the most important piece of this puzzle, period. It's all going to center on the leadership component of it and how we develop people for who's next, who's coming up the line next. So we do concentrate on policy. It's a big part of what we do. Our crime fighting is clearly our #1 priority. And as you'll see in the presentation, you'll see why crime fighting is our #1, and you can see what our folks have done over the last year. Our community division, new up and running. Major Sellers will give us a rundown on that. It's been a heavy lift. Been a lot of things trying to get off the ground. It's been tough, but we're moving along on it. And then lastly, our training pillar. We can't train enough. Unfortunately, we're going to run out of more time than topics to train on, but we'll make sure we get to those. So some changes that we had in 2020 and 2021 as they rolled over. I just told you we changed our operational model. We need division, we need focus, and this is what it gave us. We did add that community division to enhance our community connection on our non-enforcement capacity. Of course, of the last year, thanks to City Council, we did add a 4th Assistant Chief of Police. That's Major Ray. He'll be presenting first here in just a minute. He oversees our patrol division, our most important part of the police department, our backbone. So we wanted one major over that division to report directly. Before, if you understood, we'd split it. 3 patrol teams would go to Major Sellers, 3 patrol teams go to Major Gamble. It was just too much of a split. Too many things were happening at once. We couldn't get it all under control. So we have one major over that now. As Councilman Jones said, new police department. That's a big happening for us. We were cramped at Leonard. We'd overgrown it years ago, and we were just tapped out. We'd hit the ceiling long ago. So this place has got a lot of potential to it. We're just going to have to match it. And then the badges. We rolled out some new badges this year. Hopefully you all seen them. The facade of Leonard Avenue was on the old badge, and that was no longer going to be viable for us. So we rolled out a new badge. It's been a big hit with our employees, and it's pretty sharp looking. They put a lot of time and effort into these things. And then lastly, we're rolling out our body worn cameras. This is a very, very much needed thing throughout the law enforcement profession. We love having the cameras. I cannot speak highly enough about the cameras and what you see our officers doing every single day. We have said 1,000 times over, those cameras will vindicate us more than convict us every single time. Because law enforcement has gotten pretty pretty tough rap over the course of the last year, but I watched a lot of body cam videos, everybody else does in the rooms, got a uniform on, and our officers are performing phenomenal. I love what I'm seeing on the cameras. So without further ado, I want to make sure we get right in the presentation, and so we watch some time here. I do want to get our presentation agenda. So first up will be Major Ray with our patrol division, followed by our investigation division by Major Coon, our community division, Major Sellers, and our support services division by Deputy Chief Gamble. And then I'll close it up. I'll tie up some loose ends. Now, everyone who knows me, and the majors do too, I'm probably going to chime in on several slides. I might have some things that I want to say as well. And I'll let them give them a presentation. Kevin?
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Ray, Assistant Chief over the Patrol Division. My slides aren't going to take too long to go through because it doesn't take long to present numbers. But I did want to take a moment just to speak on the people providing these numbers that I'm about to show you. The men and women in this division are the boots on the ground and the foundation of every service provided by this agency. Without them, nothing else works. In the face of a continuing pandemic, a rise in the numbers of their fellow officers across the nation being feloniously killed in the line of duty, and an alarming rise in the number of officers taking their own lives, your High Point police officers continue to suit up every day and leave their families to come and uphold the oaths that they have given to protect, to serve, and work towards making High Point the safest city possible. I love each and every one of them, and I ask that you keep all of your thoughts, keep them all in your thoughts and prayers every day. And I want to thank each member of our city government and city council for their continued support of this agency and the people within it. So moving on to the numbers. Oh, I just skipped one. I need back this thing up.
Y'all need to put a little TV on each column right there so my eyes can see. So I'll turn around and look at this.
I'm with you. So the patrol division is it's made up of 6 patrol teams. It also includes the traffic unit, the K9 unit, and the SWAT team and our emergency response teams. But for the patrol teams, they operate 3 shifts each day. They have first shift, second shift, and third shift. We have been operating in a permanent shift status for the last 2 years, 3 years now. 2. We work 4 days on, 4 days off. On those 4 days off, we intermittently add in court days and training days to make the math work. Fully staffed teams include 20 officers, 3 lieutenants, and 1 captain. Currently, no team is fully staffed at this point. More specifically, the patrol team part of my division is allotted 144 spots. We currently have 29 vacancies. That's also not to include people where we're operating with people with COVID cases and quarantining because of that. So we have been operating short for quite some time now. Despite the fact that we've been operating short on manpower, we continue to be proactive and not reactive, despite these issues. You can see that bears out. You can clearly see sort of the impact of the pandemic as far as our traffic stops breakdown from 2019 to 2020. The pandemic has affected those numbers, I think, and they bear that out. However, what it also bears out is that our officers are continuing to work, continuing to get out and do the job and get it done. And as you can see, sort of the 2021, we kind of started inching back up. That definitely.
Well, Kevin, that's what I'm saying. We will continue to stop cars inside the city. We'll stop them based on suspicion of probable cause, 2 things the law allows. We will not stop that. You see many agencies move away from this for whatever reason. They can have their own reasons for doing it. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about our city. We will continue to stop cars for a multitude of reasons. The next slide's going to bring it home even more when it shows some of our actual traffic collisions and things like that. And then Major Kuhn will bring it home and starts talking about some of the investigation stuff that our traffic stops have produced. But we will continue to stop cars. I want our bad guys to know that. I do. I want our criminals to know that you will not drive inside this city and have free reign to go wherever you want. Motor vehicle violations are bound. They're out there. We just have to be vigilant, which our officers are doing, and stop them. And we can investigate from there.
And to the chief's point, very little deterrence takes place when you're just a reactionary police department. So we continue to push proactive work within our division department. Traffic crash stats. You can see for total traffic crashes, we run pretty close to the same numbers every year in terms of total crashes. Just around 4,000 to 5,000 mark. Our fatal crashes have trended down over the last 3 years, and our hit and run crashes stay around the 800 mark. One of the things you find, in terms of just to support our proactive activity in terms of stopping cars is the hit and run crashes. A lot of those things happen because people are operating vehicles that aren't registered properly, aren't insured properly, or the drivers are unlicensed, and it ends up costing people a lot of money. And when you try to address that through the work that those officers are doing out there stopping those cars, I think if we weren't doing that, those numbers would be much higher.
What was the month? Was it like October? Was it last year where we really stepped up that new campaign to start pulling people over more regularly? And was it 2021 that we did that? Or was it 2020?
2020. That was our traffic surge. People, I'm glad Pete's in here. Great. We did it twice at the end of last year, and we've done it in 2021 as well. I mean, there's a 2020 and 2021 campaign.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of success with it, at least for the short term.
Sure.
We try to advertise that quite a bit, let them know this is coming. We're not trying to sneak attack anybody. We're going to stop people in our high accident, high enforcement areas throughout the city where our traffic problems are the worst. Everybody's heard me speak before. You can see, you drive, look at people driving. It is not good.
Yeah.
It's just not. I don't know how to, I've chosen a lot of words to describe it, but I'll just go with not good today. That's why we're going to continue to stop cars for these things. 4,181 crashes inside our city. That's a lot. That means one car ran into another one 4,181 times. So ran into someone that many times. That's a lot. That's a dangerous activity. This is why it's part of our crime fighting effort, stopping cars. It's not just about the enforcement and arresting people out of cars. It's getting people to drive a little bit better. Wear your seatbelt. Slow down. Two things. I got it right, Pete? Yes, sir. There you go.
That's close to like almost a 20% decrease as the population still is growing. That shows it's working.
Well, and I do think a lot of our driving citizens have gotten better. And I think they're very cognizant. If you look at the volume of traffic we have inside our city, the majority of our folks are great.
Yeah.
They are. We got some, you just need to take your foot off the pedal. Use turn signal, do whatever, put the thing on, I don't care, do something. Just a small change in behavior will keep those stats driving down and keep you safe. Sorry, thanks. No problem.
Okay, for our calls of service, again, you can see the pandemic effect, I guess, from 2019 to 2020 in terms of overall calls for service. I do like to point out that if you look down in the second column of self-initiated calls, that our officers are self-initiating, close to flirting with 50% of these total calls of service that we're out there self-initiating calls. And that can be anything from a traffic stop to a field contact of an individual to an investigate call to a community service call where you're just checking out to talk to some people. And all that is encompassed in those self-initiated numbers there. And again, I'm just emphasizing that our guys and gals are out there putting the work in. and not waiting for it to come to. So the breakdown of the beats as far as those calls for service, beats 1 and 2, that encompasses our south side assignment for supervision. Those beats are in the southern portion of the city. You can see that beats 1, 2, and 3 are all fairly close with the 18,000 mark in there. Beat 3 and 4, that constitutes our central assignment for patrol. And they're not too far off from each other. And then beats 5 and 6 encompass the northern part of the city. You can see 1, 2, and 3 are pretty close together. There's a little bit of disparity in 4, 5, and 6, but they're all kind of fairly close to each other. And the number down at the bottom, those would just be calls that came through that maybe the address didn't verify with a particular beat. So that's just sort of the leftover numbers.
Well, Major Coons, I will say one thing. I want to tell you how important our patrol division is. That at the end of the day, if we don't do anything else in this police department, everything ceased to exist, patrol will still be here. Everyone else will suit up and go to patrol if we need to. That'll be the last group standing at the end of the day. Will be patrol. That's how important that group is. So I'm very, very proud of them. Looking at those numbers, even more proud, especially the self-initiated part. I got a glimpse of the other numbers for the day too, and I was, made me feel good that our folks are still out there getting after it. That's what's going to keep us safe at the end of the day. Major Coon, you'll jump up here and get our investigation side.
My name is Mark Coon. I'm the Major of Investigations. We're going to talk a little bit about, just give you a quick overview of what we have in investigations. We're allotted 78 officers or people in the division. We're currently staffed at 66 out of 78 in my division. 49 sworn officers and 17 civilians work in this division in investigations. Of those 49 sworn officers, 40 are detectives. So what I have is I have 40 detectives that are on all investigations in the city. So Kevin's patrol team goes out and they investigate a crime, something like a break-in or something. Then they check the box, says further investigate. It drops up on my division, depends on the crime. So if it's a larceny and there's no suspect, then it comes up in division. If it's a robbery, it comes up to my division, and then we investigate. So we have 40 people doing investigations in my division. Yes, sir.
What's the formula for the number of allotments that each department gets? Who sets that and how often is that changed?
We do, as a department.
Okay, and so Greensboro sets theirs, High Point sets there.
Yes, generally, you're going to go per thousand, per capita type thing. But we're going to look to see where our forces are needed. That data is going to drive us to tell us what we need. Like I said, it's division short. In short, we only have, good catch. We only have 5 detectives investigating violent crimes.
I didn't know, just in your industry, how far up the chain that went, if who was speaking down. So each city
yes
controls that.
And we can adjust it if needed.
Okay.
We'll go over some stats here in just a second, but I just want to let you know what I was in my division. In the investigation division, we have the violent crime unit, which they investigate homicides and robberies and serious assaults. Strategic intelligence unit, which does all intelligence. It also includes 2 intel analysts. They do all the gang stuff. Some task force officers are on there. Street crimes, which is our proactive team that we have. It's a 6-man team. I'm going to highlight them specifically on a couple slides that I have coming up. We have property crimes and fraud, anything to do with robbery, shoplifting, frauds, credit card stuff. They investigate motor vehicle, break into a motor vehicle, larceny out of a vehicle. We have vice narcotics, and then I have various federal task force officers who work for the marshals, the ATF, DEA, and also ATF, I think ATF, DEA, marshals, so they work for. And I have the property crime and, crime lab and the property room. One of the things you're going to hear all of us talk about, and the chief's already said the word, is focus. We're focused here in High Point. We really are. Working short numbers, as we are with fewer people, we're going to be focused on what we do. And if you focus, you get down really to the crime. It's really going to show why our numbers are down too on being focused. Some of the things, other things that we're going to be active. Kevin talked about self-initiated activity. We're engaged and we're also present in our crime fighting. Those are three things there are. Other three things that we're going to concentrate in High Point on all of our crime fighting: people, vehicles, and guns. Chief already told you, we're going to stop cars. And those three things are important coming up. I'm going to show you some slides coming up. We're going to go over just real quick some of the stuff on the total impact crime and just what that means. The total impact crimes are a combination of violent and property crimes. As you can see, compared to last year, we're down 9% on that, which is a big decrease. I mean, these are phenomenal numbers. You go through this whole thing, we're 9 down, 12 down on the impact crimes, and total gun related stuff. We're down 15% from last year. These are huge numbers. This is a lot of hard work by everyone, and it all starts on the backbone Kevin Ray talked about in patrol, and then the 40 detectives that I have investigating all these crimes that come up the chain. So this is a lot of hard work on there. The violent impact crimes are homicide, rape, and robbery, and aggravated assault. Property crimes are burglary, larceny, motor vehicle thefts, and the gun-related crimes are any crime involving a firearm is what that is. The impact crime clearance rate, combination of violent and property crimes for the year, we're still at 32% for clearance rates on this. I don't know if any other city has this going on. I seriously doubt it around us, High Point, but we're working in High Point every day. Kevin Ray said we put our boots on and come to work. That's what we're doing in High Point nonstop. And those are great, phenomenal numbers on this. We'll talk about the homicides real quick. And we just have homicides broke down for the total for the year with firearm, domestic, and ones that we cleared and we closed for the year. As you can see on this, just real quick, we're at 19, 18, 19. Last year we were at 13, we jumped back up to 19. 19 too many, right? Way too many. It still is. With firearm, 11 of them, we're going to get to the firearm stuff. Domestic, we've had 4, but the big number, if you go, that's 16 places that we've cleared and closed for the year. We have 3 open cases right now, homicides in High Point. It's all we have, which is phenomenal right now. It's the one down on Ardell, the one down on Campbell Street, and the one on Valley Ridge. We have 3 of those open, and we're doing everything we can to work those to continue to try to solve those crimes. Some of the other stuff I have up here, 11 with firearm. A couple of these I have wrote down here. The other ones that were committed, some with knife, some with hands, fists, feet, or blunt trauma, and we have one with somebody had a caregiver and he exhausted in a vehicle, left somebody in a car, is what they did. So that's what we had on those cases. So most of them are with the firearms still. Firearms are a big hot topic in High Point. We continue to work those. People, vehicles, and firearms are our main 3 things that we're going to work in High Point on our crime fighting efforts. Showing here just real quick the number of firearms we seized in High Point. You can see for 2021, we're at 411. We're over 400 last year. I mean, that's a lot of firearms in High Point. That's 34 in a month. You know, one a day. We're getting a firearm release 1 a day in High Point. That's a tremendous amount right there. The other big thing that I wanted to show you real quick, back in 2019 and 2020, we had a lot of back and forth shootings. You can tell what your crime is going to be, particularly by the number of shell cases that show up. This is where people show up and they lay 30 rounds down at your house, and then they leave. We get there, we have to collect 30 rounds. Or we've been to cases back in those days in 2019 and 2020 when it was, I think one case had 60 some shell casings at the residence. I mean, nobody was hit on that. They shot 60 sometimes at a house, which is crazy amount of shell casings going towards a house, back and forth shootings. So I show this to show that, you know, we only had 1,500. What we're doing is we're concentrating on people, vehicles, and firearms, people, and being focused on what we're doing. And we're actually targeting the right people and arresting the right people and stopping this. We're not having this back and forth shooting that we occurred back in these 2 years, which is really important right now. And then, you know, if you just look, 129 shell cases, somebody has to go out. We have to photograph, we have to collect. It's a lot of man hours to collect all this stuff. All this stuff has to be processed too. So this is not just whether pick them up, throw them in a bag. There's a lot of work that goes into all this stuff to solving these crimes. Of course, you know, we're partners with Navin System with our firearm stuff, also going down the road. But just to show that real quick, this was when all the back and forth stuff was going on in High Point. And we've actually kind of, don't want to say we got it under control, but we've identified some key players in these things, and we've targeted those key players on the crime that have occurred.
This is probably one of your most impactful stats in the presentation, in my opinion, especially when you look at the shell casings. We're talking about almost a 1,200 some odd drop in trigger pulls that happened inside our city is what it really breaks down to. That's huge. Mark is exactly right. That's why we've got people, cars, and guns. Focus on the right people. We've got 116,000 people in the city. I'm not worried about all 116. Most of them are great. They're awesome. We have a handful that are a problem. It's amazing when we can identify the right people and we end up getting charges on them and take them off the street, how our numbers and our activity will take a nosedive, at least for the short term. But that is an impactful stat that is telling me we are going after the right people. We're taking guns left and right. So that is the biggest stat in this whole thing. When I saw it at the year end, I knew it was going to be good because we track it every Monday. It comes out and we look at it. But when I saw that at the end of the year, I was ecstatic. That tells me something's working. I got to get at the end of my presentation. I'm still on my lines. Yeah, but something's working here.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, just on the people, vehicles, guns, I mean, you know, the people we're going to focus on the impact players that are driving the violent crime, significant number of high profile arrests we've had throughout the year on the cars. The impact players cannot be allowed to move freely about the city and concerned without being stopping because we're stopping cars. We're going to continue to stop cars. He said it. We continue to do it every year. And then they get the continued effort to seize illegal firearms throughout the year. That's what's one of our main focuses, and we continue with the firearm stuff. It's still a problem all around the nation, but particularly in High Point, we've identified it. We're going to continue that. This next slide, I just want to show real quick on where some of the guns are coming from and where we're getting them from people. And if you can look on this and just see in 2021, a lot of our houses. And how do we get it out of a house? We either do a knock and talk, a search warrant, or we're there on a domestic or something. We see a gun, person's illegal to have the gun. We take the gun and we may arrest the person on that. Traffic stops. All the traffic stops Major Ray talked about, 113 of those came out of a traffic stop alone. So you stop cars, you're going to get illegal guns out of cars. It's what you're going to have. Some of these other ones with vehicle just alone, it's not a traffic stop. You could have committed a shoplifting at Walmart. We could arrest you and then go back to your car thinking you may have threw a bunch of other stuff you stole in the car, end up in that vehicle, we find a gun in that car. So it's a car and a search warrant that's sitting in the driveway. If we have no probable cause to search that car, we go in there and we find guns hidden in the cars. So that's what vehicles. Then of course on persons 22, and if people surrendered, we're at 5. We just have a nice pie chart here just to show you where that's at. One of the things, if you look up here, it says in 2021, we made 1,222 charges for gun-related crimes. I'm going to repeat that. 1,222 charges for gun-related crimes. That's a lot in High Point. And that's why we're focusing on this stuff. 113 for carry a concealed gun. Those people didn't have a permit at all, and they had a gun hidden on them when we approached them. Carry a concealed gun. That could have been 113 officers dead. That's impactful. That is. That's a lot of people in High Point carrying guns. It is. This also charges related to different types of assaults, carry concealed guns, murder, possession, stolen property, weapons offenses. There have been 210 arrests with firearms in 2021. 210, that's a lot of people we're getting with guns on this. And just real quick, I'm going to show you, this is the actual age breakdown on where the firearms are coming from. And if you look particularly, 13 to 35 is where most of these come from. Break it down tremendously. But 13, does anybody have any reason why 13 should have a firearm? 13. Between 13 and 17, 41. That's now considered a juvenile in the state of North Carolina under the age of 18, which is crazy. That's a crazy number right there, is what that is. Any questions on that?
What usually happens to that group? They get charged, goes on the record, and you send them back home?
Well, it's a juvenile. It's a juvenile, it's referral, and the court depends on if they have enough points for lockdown. And if a juvenile facility, you have to come to the juvenile court counselors, make that determination who don't, if they go away.
Yeah, once we make the charge, we have 2 different routes. They can give secure custody.
Yeah.
But to get secure custody, that's one thing that's outside of we don't get to control that. That'll go in front of the court counselors or the intake people, and they'll look at their points. What kind of an established record do we have? Of course, the more points is a better chance that you have of going to juvenile detention, to stay locked up for a while, get some cool down time. But if you don't meet their criteria, you're going back to mom and dad or whoever, wherever caregiver probably wasn't looking after you in the first place, within a matter of minutes.
Is the court system loosening up, getting any more quick on, or are we still at a snail's pace?
We're pretty slow.
Pretty slow.
I don't think it's an intentional thing, but
No,
I
I
do think the
understand.
courts
They're
are
still
pretty,
back there, still trying to
are
catch.
just
Okay.
hammered. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's still a big backlog in the court system. right?
Yeah.
All right, real quick, what we have here is just, we show a crime clock, and on the crime clock, this is just frequency of occurrence based off our data that we're providing you. So if you can just see, every spot, our homicide number, we have one homicide every 16 days, same thing for rape, our violent crime, but every 19 hours we have a violent crime, 3 hours for property crimes, then our impact crimes, which is both of them, about every 3 hours we have one. And it just goes through traffic fatalities 41. This is just to show you throughout the year on the data that we provide on where we're break down all this stuff, and which is important to see that kind of stuff.
How many of those motor thefts, motor vehicle thefts are like the carjacking scenario versus somebody just left their keys in the car, somebody starts at the car, takes it off?
Well, if it's a carjacking, it would be considered a robbery.
Okay.
It's a robbery, it's a carjacking.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would have to be the top of the robbery, not just a motor vehicle theft. You just left the keys off and somebody jumped in and drove off, that'd be just a motor vehicle theft. Yeah. Real quick, I want to talk about this unit specifically. I have a 6-man team that works for me. Told you I was 12 down in my division, and I have 44 or 40 detectives. 40 of those detectives are the 6-man team. The 6-man team, and they are out there every day working hard, looking for people, vehicles, and guns, people that are actually pushing the violence, that are doing the back and forth shootings and doing everything. 109 guns of those 411. They've gotten over 1/4 of the guns from the 6-man team. They only work 40 hours a week. It's because we're focused. I went back to that word focused. That's what we're doing. You're focused on the right people. These guys are focused on the right people. This is a lot of work, and a lot of hard work is what they're doing. And the results that they do really help push our numbers down tremendously on this 6-man team. I mean, a lot of arrests, a lot of charges going on. They do a ton of traffic stops that occur. They even answered 2,821 calls for service throughout the year. So this 6-man team is actually critical to a lot of the operations that we do at the police department. I mean, I wish I had 2 6-man teams. I might push it down even further. If I had 3, it might do further. We don't know. But those are big numbers. Chief, want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I asked Mark to put something specifically in on street crimes because of the work that they do for us every single day and the impact that they have on the city. They're a support unit when it really comes down to it, because patrol's still gonna be number 1. But this, Mark's being nice. He's saying 6. They actually have 5. We promoted one of them mid-year. So they've been working with only 5 out here to get these numbers done. But this, I'm gonna tell you, if I was of age and I could keep up, I would do everything I could to get involved in being a street crime. Me just listen to them on the radio is unbelievable. But this is what you get when you have focused individuals given a task and they can concentrate on it. You got to have the bodies to do it. The unfortunate part of it is that, as we get further in, you'll see street crimes maybe no more, depending on our staffing levels. But that's what happens when you focus right there. That's some phenomenal stuff. I throw that group against anybody.
It's
If
big.
I were a criminal, I wouldn't show up the days they were working either.
The other unit that I have is the vice and narcotics. We're just going to go through them. I mean, drugs are always a problem. And of course, when you have drugs, you're going to have violence. And I'm just going to show just real quick on some of the stuff. I do have a federal task force officer with DEA that also is associated with the vice team that works. And, we're still, when I was young coming up, this was the big number, was crack cocaine. But if you look, fentanyl, 3 kilos, enough to kill everybody in the city multiple times over that stuff. So this stuff is out there. We're getting also heroin is big. 14 kilos of heroin is a lot of heroin. We have some heroin overdose. I'm going to show you just that overdose. I want to show you. I mean, methamphetamine is now back on 382 kilos of methamphetamine has been seized in a year on stuff. So these are some big numbers, and it's a big problem. Drugs are still a problem. It's still what spearheads and drives our violence in High Point and our back and forth stuff, and a lot of our gang stuff too. So you continually have to work this along with everything else just to stay on top of this stuff. real quick, just the heroin overdoses for the year. In 2020, we had 261. Last year, we had 245. The big thing is the deaths this year. Compared to last year, we had 12 last year. We're at 21 this year in heroin overdoses on this. And of course, it all goes back to the fentanyl stuff and then all the opioid stuff. We still have still a major problem in High Point. It will continue to be a problem in High Point. We're going to work as hard as we possibly can. Several of these autopsies are still pending. So these numbers really are not reflective right now. It's just not what we know of. A lot of times somebody will die. We have to send away, get the autopsy and the toxicology. And it comes back and says fentanyl overdose. That's what it says. Then we adjust the numbers. So that's where we are just right now as to what's been reported.
Is it Narcan, the one that's administered to offset that? Do
And
you have the
every officer
numbers
has
on,
Narcan. All patrol officers have Narcan.
right, do you have the numbers on how many of those you administered?
We do. We didn't have them with him, but it'll be in the year-end report because it is included in our heroin stats that we update every week too.
Yep.
Because it tells you PD Narcan use in there. We just did put it in the slide, but in the year-end report, it will be in there.
So, do you have any questions?
Later.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to come before you to talk about our newly formed community division. This is my heart. I'm here to serve our community, and I think the opportunity to develop this division is a blessing for me. It really is. And keep in mind, we are in the process of developing it. So one of the things that we do when you first start anything, you got to have a purpose, you got to have a focus. And so we started with our mission statement. And so our mission statement basically means we're going to work with the community to create a product to make our community safe, prosperous, and livable. But how do you do that? So we start off with being focused on building relationships. That's how we accomplish the best goals we think, the best successes. Focus on building relationships. Our unit in 2021 self-initiated over 2,000 calls for community service events. Each one of these calls we were at on an average of an hour. Now, I'll also tell you this number is very incorrect, okay? Because I am guilty. And I know Chief is, as well as every one of those majors back there. We will respond to a call or we respond to a community event and we fail to check out on that event. So there's no way that it is recorded. So I know this number is low and it's very, very low. So we are working on doing better for tracking what we do, okay? One of the things that we decided to focus on, we have 3 areas that we're going to focus on in this division. We're going to focus on our youth. We're going to focus on relationship building. And we have, and you will see, we have a lot of new projects. Now, I want you to keep in mind, you heard from Major Coon, you heard from Major Ray, they talked about how many employees they have in their division. We have the least amount in the community division. But I want you to see what it is that these officers do. And I want you to just intake that because they do a lot of good work. Now, for our youth, these are just a handful. Somewhere I could go over all our projects. But we're going to talk about a couple of them here. Our PALS project is police assisting little schools. As you know, we have school resource officers in our middle and high schools. We have 8 of them, but we have none in elementary schools. A lot of times, by the time some of our youth get to middle school, we've missed a huge opportunity to collaborate with them. Huge opportunity. So based on, Chief actually came up with this idea. We decided to figure out a way where we can spend more time in schools. So PALS was developed in 2020. And basically what we started off doing is we chose 2 elementary schools. We just chose one that was up north, chose one that was down south. And we respond as an agency to these schools at the end of every 9 weeks. We're there for award ceremonies. We're there to further celebrate these youth. Well, now, beginning of 2022, we've actually adopted 2 more schools. So now we have 4. And we have about 17 elementary schools in the city of High Point. So that's not nowhere near all of them, but that's still doing something. And it's on a positive interactions, all positive interactions. And the schools that we have Fairview Elementary is a new one. We have Kirkman Park, Oakview Elementary, Oak Hill Elementary. Like I said, there's no rhyme or reason. We go from north to south, and we're just picking them. And keep in mind though, our SROs will respond to any elementary school once they're called upon. And I only have 8 of them, but they respond. Angels in Blue. Angels in Blue started in 2014. If you would tell me today, I saw Mr. Jones, I love your sweatshirt there. If you would have told me today that the program will be where it is now, I wouldn't believe it. When we started in 2014, we started with 3 families that we assisted at Christmas. We just finished up 2021. We helped over 45 families, and it's still growing. We had to turn people away. It's just huge. It's the whole entire department is involved in Angels in Blue. Our youth academies, we have 2. We have our Youth Leadership Academy, where we partner with High Point University. We have our Housing Authority Youth Academy. Both are held during the summers. They are in the planning stages this year to be back on track. Last year, due to COVID, they could not host them, but we're back on track with those. Our Youth Explorers program we're actually rebuilding that now. And basically, for those of you who do not know, the Explorers is basically a program where police officers mentor teenagers in hopes of one day they becoming officers as well. And then the referrals from SROs. I want to mention this because a lot of times when people have misconceptions of what SROs do in school. They think every time an SRO is involved in any type of investigation that the end result is that juvenile is arrested. That is the farthest thing from the truth. They do referrals more than they do any type of arrest or criminal charges. They refer them to deferment programs such as teen court, such as life skills, mediation. One of the newest programs that we're working with right now is with the Boys and Girls Club, and it is off to an amazing start. Everybody loves it. And so they don't send a lot of juveniles to juvenile court. They just don't. Okay. The relationship building, again, this is just a handful of organizations that we partner with. Nowhere near the amount that we deal with. Green Street Baptist Church is at the top of the list. Now, they made the top of the list really quick during COVID because with us, keep in mind, when everybody else is working from home, we can't work from home. So they kept the church open so officers can have somewhere to go. They can have somewhere to breathe. They can have use of the facilities. So they partnered with us immediately, and they have since continued to grow or to partner with us. They host us for a lot of different events. The Boys and Girls Club Greater High Point, Boys and Girls Club of Salvation Army, we work with them. I don't know if you're familiar with C3, but that is a newly formed program that has been amazing for us. And C3 stands for Community Collaboration for Children. One of the problems that we had, and Major Ray can speak on this, for his patrol officers, is if an officer encounters a mother from a domestic at 2 a.m. in the morning, and she has nowhere to go. She's not from High Point. She doesn't have any funding. She has 2 kids. Where is she going? C3, we can call up and they can put her in a hotel. They can help her. But what makes them really dynamic is the fact that they just don't have that one interaction. They now build a relationship with the mother to get her resources so that she can stand on her feet and she can get childcare. They'll help her with job training, education, just a numerous amount of resources that they plug into that family. So they are an amazing organization that we work with. Cone Health, YWCA, again, other great partners that we work with. And I put downtown. Our downtown businesses are very good. We have 2 officers that work downtown, and they are amazing. They are doing a lot of good stuff downtown. They respond to the needs of the businesses. When there's a business owner or a business that says, hey, at 9 o'clock at night, I may have this happening in front of my business. They will adjust their hours to meet the needs of that business person or that business. So they are doing phenomenal things. Everybody in here should know what Community Day is. Just another opportunity for us to meet and mingle with our community members to further build positive relationships. And I put bike union in here because with the revitalization of downtown, we have to have a way where we can get around downtown. This is going to be a unit we're trying to develop. We actually have a lot of officers that are bike certified, and they like riding the bikes. And one of the things that we found is they get a lot of attention when they're just out riding. People stop and further engage with them. We had some out during the spring just riding down by the Greensboro Road area. People were pulling over just to stop to talk to these officers. And so the bike unit grabs a lot of different attention. The request that I have here is something that we deal with on a daily basis. I don't think anybody realizes how many times people call us to say, hey, can I have an officer come by and speak to this group? Or, hey, we're having a festival Saturday at our church. Can we have 3 officers to come by? We get that every single day. I got one this morning. A lady calls up and she says, hey, this is what we're having in my business today. I need officers to come by. Now, we can't fulfill everyone, but we try our best to fulfill the majority of them. And we do a pretty good job. And again, just remember, wait till we get to the end, I'm gonna show you how many officers we have that are doing all this work. Now, our new projects, very exciting. Very first one we have is called Impact. Now, I may say the name wrong because at the beginning we had named it Community Collaboration Group, but the group members wanted to change their name. They changed it to Impact, which is Improving Mutual Police and Community Teamwork. And basically what this is, it's a group that meets periodically, and it's just an open forum dialogue to talk about things that are happening in our community, gives them an opportunity to ask questions about police operations and how we respond to things and why. And we also give them an opportunity, hey, what would you do in our situation? And so there's gonna be some role reversals, and we're off to a great start. We've had, I think, two meetings thus far. We got the next one next month. But it is just something new that we're trying, and I can tell you right now, it is doing very, very well. Getting a lot of positive feedback behind it. The next one is we. Chief is very open to new projects, and he listens when we bring him concerns. And one of the concerns that we brought him was, we want something for our female employees. We want an opportunity to further motivate, further educate, further inspire our ladies here. We are clearly not as many, there's clearly more men that are employed at the High Point Police Department than there are females, but we are very much an important asset to this agency. So we was formed Women's Empowerment Institute. We meet 4 times a year. And it's wonderful to see how great it is when we're not in the building, to see the men scramble to make our operations continue. Kind of like that. But we are working to further make ourselves better. Simple as that. PAC. PAC stands for Police Assistance Caring Team. One of the things people don't talk a lot about in the midst of a lot of different things with law enforcement that's been happening is the weight that some of the things that are happening in the world carries on our officers. Whatever happens in the community, whether it's losing a loved one, I lost my father last year, or to sickness, we have the exact same things that happen to us. But who takes care of us? Well, PAC does. PAC is a team that will send an officer cards, will take meals. We had a lot of officers out doing COVID. They're gonna deliver meals. They're gonna make sure the family has what they need. And so this is a relatively new program, but it's very, very impactful. Okay. Commander's Retreat. I think some of you heard about that before. We started that in 2020. August 2020 was our first one. We had the second one in 2021. We're going to continue that one in August again this year. And this is an opportunity where the leadership of this department get together. We get together and we hash out our business. What are we doing well? What can we improve on? Where do we want to see ourselves in 5 years? And so this is very, very beneficial. We learn from it, and I think we grow from it. Well, I know we grow from it. 2 other new things, our newsletter. We love our police department, but there are some people in the back room I don't see on a daily basis, not like I did at Limit. We have to make a conscious effort of seeing each other. So how do I communicate with them? Or how do we communicate with each other? So each major presents or gathers information from the division, and we put it in a newsletter. And we just sent the first one out, came out 2 days ago, I think, or yesterday. Very, very beneficial. That's just a way for us to communicate, a better way for us to communicate. And our mascots. I just told you one of our focuses are youth. And we do a lot of community events. So we decided to create 2 new mascots. We have a male and a female.
Oh, your mascot's too long.
They're coming. No, it's coming on the next one, I think. And you'll see the mascots here shortly. Now, what I've done here, this is just a snippet from July to December of some of the activities that our officers do. Just a snippet. We have no way of, we're developing a new division. So one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to track everything that we do. And again, this is just a snippet of what I can get on this slide. So there's nowhere reflects everything that we do. And so you met our new mascots. Here they are. A female and a male lion. What we did was we asked the officers, what do you want to represent us? You want an animal or you want a character? The response was an animal, and lion was #1 out of all of them, and for various reasons. Now, I also told you, you see all the stuff that we're focusing on, all the things that we're doing. Our community division has 1 major, myself. We have 1 captain. We have 1 lieutenant that works downtown. He's over our community engagement that has 2 officers. And he has 1 community development, community engagement officer. I have 1 lieutenant over the SROs. I only have 8 SROs. And I have 1 lieutenant over housing. And it's 6 of them. And they work specifically in housing. So they're not out they're out somewhat, but not as much because their #1 assignment is to work in housing. My SROs, their assignment are in schools. So we're doing a whole lot of work with few people. Okay. Any questions? Comments, concerns?
This community division, I said in the beginning, is our heaviest lift. It is. We're really brick and mortar trying to build it up here we're doing a lot of the things that you see already. They just want to consolidate us. We're trying to bring that under the rail. I do believe this is the community connect that will put us over the top. I just went to the chief of police conference last week and listened to some chiefs that have been involved directly in civil unrest in their cities for various reasons. Every single one of them said, if you're not building a relationship with your community, you're making a mistake. So you better get started. Luckily, we'd already started this, and I think we have some good ground. Now, this is, like I said, it's a heavy lift, not only outside, but it's a heavy lift on the inside of this place, too. I mean, the police rhetoric across the country has not been the greatest over the last couple of years. So we're trying to sell a product to our own people saying, hey, go out there and do this when we get cursed every other call. So it's been a tough sell on our end. They've done a phenomenal job. Even though her division is the smallest one, staffing wise, we expect every division to be involved with the community. Kevin's folks for patrol, their community. Mark's folks, investigations, community. Anthro, support services, community. The few folks that I have in the chief's office with me, community. This has got to be a holistic effort. So heavy lift. We got some big plans coming ahead. Some great things that I see coming down the road. We have to have some things fall into place though. We got a lot of work to do.
Do the mascots have names?
They do have names. However, I cannot divulge those just yet because I haven't told our officers yet. We did a voting process and we have names for them. So you'll see that soon.
Well, I was hoping you was gonna say no. I was gonna tell you, take it to the elementary school, make a competition out of it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
That's not a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea. That is.
Tommy Ron's done a promise. I'm tired of being in this police station.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Anthony Gamble. I'm the deputy chief. Just a little bit about the unit. It supports services, recruiting, hiring, training, staffing, uniforms, cars, and building facilities fall under support services. But I'm just going to focus on a few things: that recruiting, hiring, training, and standards and staffing. It's a long process. Hiring is a long process for us. It's about 4 to 8 month application process. They go through 4 different interviews. They have to go through this polygraph. And this is where we lose about 50% of our candidates. They get disqualified at this point because they can't pass that polygraph. That is very important to us, that they can be able to tell the truth under duress. That physical and agility test, psychological exam. We're one of the toughest agencies to get into because we keep our psychological score very high. Others have lowered theirs, and we have maintained ours at a very high rating. We believe if we can cut or weed out some of those low psychological tests, we'll save ourselves some trouble on the back end. Then you have BLET. That's 4 months of training. Then you come to the police department, you have another 4 months of field training. And so in short, for us to get someone out, it takes us a year from the time that they're hired to go through all the training to get them to be a solo officer. And that's a lot of time. We just can't go to a closet and flip them out. That is a lot of time when we lose someone.
That's if they make it.
Right.
To let you know, back in the day, that's what they did. They hired you, walked you in there, gave you a gun and a badge and a uniform, said, go get them. So times have changed, buddy.
I want to just give you a snapshot of salaries. And this is salaries across our triad. And we're fine. I'll say we're fine. We're very competitive. Some other agencies might do sign-in bonus. But for the most part, our agency is fine. So I did want to just kind of show where we fall in line and our salaries. For us, we do give laterals, a bump in pay, military, we look at Spanish, we also give that incentive. And of course, we also give incentives for education as well. Any questions on that? Here's what's eye-opening for us. This is what we're about. What the chart you're looking at is our kind of retention rate, so to speak. And so from left to right, that green or bluish color, that first column blue, is what we hired that year. The green in the middle is what we lost. Okay? That could be retirements, terminations, or resignations. Okay? That's what we lost. And then the orange is what we was able to keep in that year. I don't want you to get confused a little bit about those people are not always the same. We might not have hired them in 2017. We could have hired them in 2015 and then they left. So, but as you can see, we're trending way down on keeping people. We still hire a good number of people. Of course, Kevin is beating that 2019 COVID, but also what he's not telling you, that's when we had civil unrest. And so as you can see, we had a high clip of people leave. We only kept 2 people around that year. And then the very next year, we didn't hire that many because people and families don't want you to become police officers. So that's why you see that huge dip from 25 hiring down to 14. Now, yes, we are coming out of it, but we are losing a lot more still. We're losing a lot more than we ever have. So that's what that is. Why? I know some people want to know why we're losing it. Of course, economy, anytime the economy becomes good, people leave law enforcement. It's a dangerous job. If you can make money, more money somewhere else at a safer, less stress, they're going to do it. Again, we're still in civil unrest, COVID. So it's a lot of things that make people leave law enforcement.
Hey, one note on that, and you know, the numbers are stuff. Do I love seeing the line where we've lost that many people? It hurts us. I'm not gonna lie. It's staggering to lose our people, especially some of the people that we are losing because they are good officers. It's not like we're losing something that's good. They're actually very high performing officers. They just figured out to move somewhere else. I do think it's important to note though, out of all our losses that we've had, not many of them are leaving to go to other agencies. I think that's the key for us. We've only had a handful that do that. We've had people that go work in the private industry, you name it, from selling solar panels, to work at Chick-fil-A, to drive trucks, to drive trains. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So, and back to your starting salary. I like our starting salary. It's a common question we get. I think we're very competitive. That's not even really my concern at all. And our recruiters are getting people in the door. So we have to provide a product when you get in the door that makes you want to stay here, is what it comes down to. That's what it is. Not the starting salary. It's got to be everything beyond that. So, you know, and I do think that, you know, some things that will have to be done and move in the future, because they'll still slide many of us becoming a dog eat dog world in law enforcement. Everybody's going after the same small pot of people.
And I'll tell you, some things that we already know, what we can control. I have 5 pending retirements, so I know I'm already -5 for 2022. Those we can plan for, we can see those, we have that outline for a long period of time. What hurts us is those unexpected resignations. Terminations don't hurt us, it's not frequent, but those resignations are the ones that we can't account for. We don't know when those are coming. Again,
What's the level of signing bonuses at these other agencies?
so it depends. When I was looking at it, it just depends on how they want. So most of the signing bonuses are for people to recruit coming in, and some people give it to the people who do come and sign on and stay a length of time. I think Winston-Salem has a contract to try to keep their people. We have not explored. That's not our philosophy. But the signing bonus kind of range from probably the man. We've tried that before. Captain Cheeks can speak about that. We have tried it. We hadn't had great success with signing bonuses for us, but that's not something we're going to take off the table. We're willing to try it again.
And one thing that worries me about the signing bonus is this: what I would love to do that, give them. It also becomes, my concern is it alienates your current employees. The ones that have been here, they're working in the street, they're working Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, all that. They're like, well, I didn't get any bonus. I'm out here working already. It's almost like, you know, you go into the phone store and you see the new plan. Hey, we're going to give you a free phone and pay you all this money. And I'm like, well, I pay my bill every month, and I pay $800 for this phone. Same sort of thing. So that's a very dangerous game for us to get into. We got a lot of concerns with it. I won't object to it, but we just have, our job becomes to tamp down the water inside the PD when those things happen.
I'll say this: as you can see, we're hiring well-qualified applicants in a shallow pool, a very shallow applicant pool. It's not that many people who are going to Billy T wants to be a police officer. That's why we want to focus on the retention. So I throw this slide in here because this has got a ton of buzz through our police department, a ton of buzz through a lot of other police departments. And I will say this: I am cautious, and I've told the chief I'm cautious about this. Here's why I'm leery for us to do things like this. Because when you start bringing other people in at a higher salary, you just said it, it kind of alienates those loyal employees who have been here for 10, 12 years, and then the new person comes in making more than them. That really rubs our profession the wrong way. So I've told Chief, not yet. I'm not quite ready to go this route. Now, how it hurts us though, don't think our employees are not like looking over at that slide, looking over at that flyer. So that can hurt us. We're watching how this plays out. We've already heard the rumblings throughout the police department. We're kind of trying to brace for how many we might lose just because they see this. All right. So that's why our focus, again, is on retention. What can we do for the folks that are here with us now? I just want to give you another demographics or breakdown, that terrible color, on our stats. This is right now, we're 228 employees are sworn out of 262. Our non-sworn is 44 out of 46. For our sworn, it's about 13% vacancies. Our non-sworn, that's 4% vacancies. Our average age of working is 39 years old. And then our average years of service is 12. This is funny, and this slide threw me for a loop when I put it together, because just last year when I ran these same numbers, our average years of service was 10 years. And I'm like, how in the world did we get up 2 years? But it's because of that small number of people who have left that were young. And so that has left, just making our department older. And so now our years of service has increased because our young folks have left. Just to break down, you can see how many females and males we have in our department. We have about 33 females and 195 males. I also want you to know that your department is educated, that your police department is well educated. 50% of our department has a 4-year degree. 7% has a master's degree, 12% has a 2-year degree, and then 31% has a high school diploma. Training. Training is a big part of our pillars, chief put up pillars. Training is huge. We're only required 24-hour state mandated yearly training. That's what the state says we need. However, your department, every officer is over 70+ hours of training every year. And that's even higher when they do specialty training, when they ask or request for specialty training. This is just the bottom line. If you just go to what we tell you to go to, you will get 70+ hours of training. That's huge. That makes us make better decisions under stressful situations. We do reality-based training that puts you under stress, make good decisions. It's not going to be the first time you see it on the streets. You're going to see it in training. You're going to see it in our shoot house. That makes you make better decisions out in the street and a better outcome. So training is huge. This was given to us. Our department has always been known for training. We're just making it better, more intense, and making sure we're training to our policies. We definitely train to our policies. That's a pillar. And then we make sure we continue to hit training yearly. Every other month they are in training. Now we have a training wish list, and this list is just a small. And some of these we do already, so don't think we're not doing it because it's a wish list. But we have a list of 100 trainings that other groups think we should train on. But like I said, it takes time to train. If we was to cover all the training that people think we should do, it'd just simply be awareness. We could only go to an hour training here, an hour training there. It wouldn't be intense training. And so that's that wish list you see up there that some people have asked, do we do this type of training? Yes, we do de-escalation. Yes, we do civil unrest. Yes, we do non-lethal force training. Yes, we do crisis intervention training. We do active shooter. We do all those types of training on the ground, not watching the PowerPoint slide. We are actually moving, shooting each other with Sims guns, all that. So we are very ingrained in training. All right.
He's being nice on the wish list. He didn't want to kill your eyes because he's not exaggerating. We have a list on a spreadsheet, 100+ things that we are expected to train on, whether it be things that we identify, maybe the public identifies, or police agents identify that we're supposed to train on. And I mean, I can't really think of any other profession that you have that. It's not only train on them, but you're supposed to be great at them when you get there on the ground and do them. I mean, so it's almost impossible to meet this demand. So we have to figure out, we get bang for our buck. That's what it comes down to. What are we going to run into the most? What's going to be the most impactful for us and help us keep people safe? So we have to train those things down. And they've done a great job of learning how to cycle things through. So this year we'll get all these things. The next year we'll get this. But then the year after that, we'll revisit because it may change in the process. But it's hard. I will tell you, I expect every one of our officers to train. I don't know if that's a new thing or not. It is. I think it is. Shut up.
Yeah, every officer, including the chief, he goes through every single block of training. No one gets to skip out. Even our reserves have to train because our community members do not know if that's a reserve officer or a regular officer. So they have to train like us as well. That can get us in trouble if we don't get them up to a level of training as well. and I won't talk about anymore about training. I'll kind of sum this up. Takeaways I want you to know about support services. Number one, we're going to keep our standards high and higher. We will not sacrifice our hiring standards. Okay, we will work short before we start sacrifice our high standards. Two, you have educated and well-trained officers. Recruiting is not the issue. As you can see, we're recruiting at as the normal clip as we've always recruited and hired. Again, that focuses on retention because it takes 1 year to get someone on the streets, back on the streets. But also you lose that experience, and that is hard to replace. When a 3, 4, 5, even an 18-year vet walks out the door, that is hard to replace that experience. And so we want to keep that here. Last but not least, and you've heard it, you're doing a lot with less. Every division has done an incredible job, but I'm leery of that because at the cost of that comes safety concern. Also our officer wellness. So even though we're doing a lot with less, we have to focus this support services job to make sure we're hiring enough to make sure we can get those numbers back up. And so that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
The last one, I promise. You've heard every single one of them said. And one of the presentations focus. That's what we do here at this police force. We've been doing it for years. We've got a track record of success. But looking forward into the next year, our focus has got to be number one on our people, the people that are here. I mean, I love getting people in the door, but it's known versus unknown is what it comes down to. We got a crew that is clearly working and they're working hard. So I want to concentrate our efforts on the ones that are here, getting them to stay here. They're trained, they're vetted. We put a lot of time and effort into them, and vice versa. They put a lot of time and effort into this place as well. Focus on our plan. You can't just send people out. That's not the way it works. Not go get them, slap them on the behind, tell them to go do some work. No, you have to give them a plan, and that's what I think we're doing with this new strategic model and our focus initiative, the people, cars, and guns. And then lastly, focus on the results. You'll see that year report come out in a week or two. I'll let the city manager see it first. We push it out there, but focus on the results. Clearly, we're doing something right. The small crew that we have is getting it done. Comparatively speaking to a lot of other cities, I'm not really worried about them. I'm worried about us. So clearly our crew is getting it done. So focus on the results. Keep doing what we're doing. Last thing I'll say about our people is this. Anthony said in his presentation, we're doing a lot less, fewer people, but they're tired. They are. I can see it in the faces. I hear the voices. I tell them it's always like you're running a race, a mile race around a track, 4 laps. We get to run the whole time. The other team, bad guys, get as many people as they want to run. They can switch out wherever they want. So ultimately, at the end of the day, who thinks going to win that race? Somehow we're winning. But the problem is the race doesn't end at a mile. It just starts back over. We've got to keep running. And you can see it wearing on our people quite a bit. I think that's why we've had a lot of losses throughout the year, the last 2 years. So that's why we really need to concentrate on our employees. And I will tell you this, I'll tell everybody in the room, glad the media's here. I am unbelievably appreciative of our city leadership, city manager crew. They have been supportive of us from day one, have not wavered one bit. Like I said, I was at that conference last week and I listened to people talk. I listened to other chiefs. I think I got it pretty good. I kept my mouth shut. I was like, ooh. This is one of the things I see and I hear. So I appreciate you guys too. You have done nothing but support us. I hope that'll continue, but we should keep putting the product on the table that leads you to support us. So we appreciate it. Any questions? Tommy, I know he's like, man, I should have come first.
Don't put me with you.
Any questions or comments?
All right.
Who won the softball?
They may have to switch your.
Thanks, Chief. Our next item on the agenda is 2022-29 inspection fees, and we've got our fire chief to present to us on that.
You got 3 minutes, Tommy.
Public comment rules.
You must give your hand out later.
So today, kind of what I want to talk about is we've been working on this, I think back before COVID, we started on civil maintenance, so we've been working on it for a while. But obviously, inspections, fire prevention, and so forth in businesses, the city high point's a big thing. affects our rating, accreditation, affects public safety and so forth and everything. But also you can see, you think they shorthanded, I'm not sure what shorthanded is here. So we got our inspection division does plan reviews, they do inspections on systems, they do regular inspections, fire door inspections, system inspections, new construction, and then they also do inspections on buildings that are already out there. So objectives that I'd like to look at today are solve compliance issues, hold people and businesses accountable for public safety, recover the cost for non-compliance and repeated inspections, create a revenue source to assist with the funding of additional inspectors. Currently, our inspection rate is about 84%. Our goal is to achieve 100% inspection completion rate. Presently, our only avenue to gain compliance is through court action. The last case that we took to court, it took us almost 3 years to get the guy, it was a church, to get the pastor to comply, and through legal action, through a judge. And that's really the only action we have to gain any type of compliance. So under the general statutes of North Carolina 168 and 160D, it authorizes, so unlike the rest of the people that work in the city, we're authorized to go in every building every year. So like building construction, they have to have a reason to go in there. They have to, but we're mandated by the state to go in and inspect those facilities. So we have a legal right. So we can do a lot and get a lot of information that helps other people, helps other parts of the city. But also our insurance services office and community risk reduction that gives us our class 1 rating. Mandates that we're in buildings, we do pre-entries, we do inspections, we do fire prevention, we do programs much like PD does with kids. We teach them about fire safety all the way up. We do extinguisher classes every year. The university, we train all of their resident advisors on fire safety, extinguishers and so forth. We teach CPR classes, the whole gamut. So everything is fairly busy. This is a little bit about the history of code enforcement. I need to meet up here. So back in 1991 in Hamlet, North Carolina, there was a place down there that was processing chickens. So that the owners from up north or whatever, they would run this place. And what they would do is they locked every door in place to try to keep people from carrying chickens out, keep things from going on. But they locked all the doors except for the main door going out the front. So they had a fire one day and hydraulic hose blew out, killed 25 people, put 55 in the hospital. So the state and federal government come in, started doing all this investigation, said we got to step up our program. So out of that came the demands from the state. A lot of the fire legislation or fire code enforcement today came out of that. But back when that was implemented in 1991, 1993, the city had 5 inspectors and we went to 9. And we were 43 square miles, population of 70,000, had 2,950 commercial facilities in the city of High Point. And the inspection rate in 2001, even with those people, wasn't much better. It was at 42%. And the reason why I know this number, this is when Chief Levin was hired. And so he actually worked a lot. He just retired, but he put a lot of effort in to building our inspections division. He was fire marshal for several years. So our present day situation is we still at the same thing. We have a fire marshal, a deputy fire marshal with 3 fire inspectors and 1 fire prevention education officer. The reason that some of those are gone is during reallocations or economic downturns or like other needs in the fire department. Well, instead of former management, instead of hiring people, well, they would just rob from this division here and they would stick them over there. So we lost our training division used to be inspectors. One of our mechanics used to be an inspector position. So instead of building what we need to build, well, I said we robbed Peter to pay Paul. And so the city presently today is 58 square miles, 116,000 plus population, 5,400 commercial facilities. And this 1, 2, and 3 years of cycle of inspection. Like for instance, a high hazard hospital, chemical plant, anything that's assembly occupancies, they have an annual inspection. Apartment buildings have an annual inspection. Some things are, and I'll show you another slide here shortly, are 2-year cycle, and some things on a 3-year cycle. But so we have broke down over every year, we have at least 2,900 inspections that we're required to be for 100% compliance. Presently, I showed you we're about 84.3. And so these 5 people that you see up here actually are not only they're responsible for this, but as well. So this is kind of a synopsis of what we've done for the last 5 years, 15 to 19. And the reason we didn't put 20 and 21 in there is because of COVID, and the state kind of curtailed what we could do with a lot of, they wouldn't allow us into any healthcare facilities, any high risk places. They kind of shut the inspection down. All they've done is just, I reckon if we'd been just a year, we'd been all right, but all they've done is just put us further behind. But as you'll see, this graph is what I want y'all to understand about the fees and no teeth in the system. So this is the number of inspections that was done each year. We averaged, let's see, we averaged about, let's see, over that 5-year period was 11,630 inspections. All right, the same 5-year period, we done 5,279 re-inspections because people were in compliance. So also in that same time period, there was 24,410 violations in that period. So for every inspection that we done, or every re-inspection, there was over 2 violations per business. So what happens is you go out here to Miss Smith's beauty shop or whatever. Well, she knows, well, the fireman's coming. Oh, well, I'm gonna go out and get an inspection. They will give you 30 days. And well, she didn't get to us, so we'll go back another 30 days. So there's places that we go back. We'll let the crews, we got a few crews that inspect, or like light duty people or something like that. So once they've been out there 3 times, or then they turn it over to the fire marshal's office and he starts counting them. So we write them letters, we threaten them. There's lots of things, but like I said, when we get into other parts, so this is the basics. But not only so is inspections, this plan reviews that are required for these same inspectors. So every new building that comes in, or any project that comes in to build High Point, fire plan reviews we have to do. So you can see what we're doing. There are quite a few. I think this right here is when city management fixed Bill High Point. And obviously that's why that year when there was so many, we were catching up backlogs that were the contractors and so forth out there want to get things done. I think 15, 16 is when we put a cell in. And then we kind of stepped the game up a little bit for everybody in the city. So time demand by inspection type. So in blue, obviously, this is a regular fire inspection that those guys are doing. 20 plan reviews, so you can see the orange, that's how much of the time they spend doing plan reviews. All these guys work 40 hours a week. That's all they work. So re-inspections, you can see some years, if you look back at that graph right here, you can see the spike, and you see how it corresponds to the map, like how much that's re-inspection. So he spent more time, or over half his time, doing re-inspections on inspections that he had done for people that didn't apply. And then this number right here is construction inspections, which is like for new construction going out that comes through Reggie's office, and where we have to do fire inspections. So their day is pretty full. Like I said, I think we're lucky to even be at 84%. And part of what helps us get to that 84% is the fact that when we get somebody on light duty, we put them in a car. As long as they can drive and walk, we put them in a car. And we send them out to do fire inspections on 11 properties. We've got We hire part-time people that are retired, like we got a guy, Thomas Lewis retired, he worked 1,000 hours a year, $9.99, so we got him hired and, to try to help us keep caught up somewhat. So the number of inspections that you see, there's our total is out of that 2,900 annually that you see. So if you multiply that times 3, it's about see 8,700 inspections in a 3-year cycle that has to be done. So we have 3,800 plus level 1 inspections, which is mom and pop, convenience store, small restaurant, so stuff like that. Level 2 inspections are like plant, some minor manufacturing, smaller assembly types, and level 3 are high hazards, hospital, Hilton Towers, chemical plants, anything that's high risk, high hazard, high life falls into that thing. So we have 300 plus of those a year. And so we do on an annual basis, that number comes up, like I said, be 2,900 annually that we do divided, and that's a continual cycle. But that 2,900 is on top of everything else that they must get done. I said the plan reviews, re-inspections, new construction inspections, and but there's so it's quite demanding, and I think we do well for what we have. But I think so my goal here today, with kind of in summary or closing, and I know talk to the manager. So what we've done today is kind of a short synopsis, just kind of get that ball rolling, and there'll be a lot more work and stuff into trying to figure out exactly what all we need to do and how the guidance the council wants us to do. But our main thing is to gain accountability and compliance, revenue and cost recovery for the city, staffing and resources for service delivery to meet 100% demanding inspections. And then by doing that, we want to create safe spaces for citizens and visitors, as well as maintaining our ISO Class 1 rating and national accredited status. Because of that, we're supporting the city's mission of being the single most livable, safe, and prosperous community in America. So I hit all that in one sentence. But just to let you know, that handout that I gave y'all kind of details a little bit. If we just look a little bit, I'll just give you a little bit. So I've looked at all the major cities that I could gather information on, and if you'll see, every one of them that you look at pretty much is high point is 0. So we're the only one that I can find of any size is not charging for inspections or re-inspections or fees for coming out. Just for instance, we get numerous calls, even through some FOIA request, whatever, but people that want to know, like they're looking to buy a property, so they want to know about hazards, they want to know about fire inspections. So that's one of those same inspectors has got to take and research that. So he puts quite a bit of time in, sometimes 2 to 3 hours in researching what was on the former property, if there was any inspection, if there was any gas tanks, any underground tanks. But everybody else charges for that. We don't get anything for it. So we're expending a lot of time, a lot of energy out here, trying to keep up, and that we're not getting any cost recovery back. But one of the numbers that I wanted to share with you is if we had been charging that $50 re-inspection fee that I got kind of proposed. So for those 5 years you see there, we would have recouped $263,950 just on re-inspection fees. That's just going back one time. There's some places we go back multiple times because they won't comply. But y'all hear the same stuff up there when people come up and talk to you about derelict houses and run down places. Oh, give me 30 more days. Please do this, please do that. And you end up in the end knocking it down anyway because they won't comply. So we face the same thing.
Chairman Jones, the reason this is coming to public safety is that we're looking at how do we start to recover some of the cost of inspection fees. So in the coming months, there's going to be an item that comes before the finance committee where we start to talk about what will be the implications of us enacting a fee associated with re-inspections. That's why we wanted to share the information in terms of the volume of work, what the inspectors are currently doing, and then have a discussion in terms of whether or not council wants to move forward and start to recover some of those costs through a policy to charge for inspection fees. We want to do it in a way that we would have some period of time where we can evaluate and do some education to individuals to know that we're launching the fees, and then we would determine when they would go into effect. In an ideal scenario, what we would do is have 2 to 3 months or so of education, and then look to roll this out as we're planning our new budget. So we're starting to prepare and do some preliminary work in preparation for our budget presentations coming up in the spring.
Well, I think that Victor and I were speaking personally on that, and it's very similar to the water tap things that we just went through. But if you look at this, it doesn't matter why, because that's water under the bridge, but for a long period of time, things have not been charged. And nothing is free, but we've created a dependency is not the right word, but there's like an expectation that's infiltrated over years that, well, they don't do it here. They don't do it here. Well, they have been getting a service for free for a long, long time. And one that is weighing against the budget in one shape or form or the other. So I think it's always tough to unroll something like that, but it's probably a necessary correction that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, I agree. I think it seems like there's people that may be habitual in their violations, and we're incurring that cost, or taxpayers incurring that cost to keep going out time after time till they cure the problem. This would hopefully encourage somebody to go ahead and get in compliance quicker than dragging it out. And also, it's not just compliance. We're talking about fire stuff. It's safety. It's lives. So we need to do everything we can to get them to fly straight, I guess, so to speak. And Chief, thank you so much for your presentation as well.
One quick thing.
Yes, sir.
Just about this sheet here, just got numbers on there, was kind of that we kind of bounced around and looked at.
Right.
And then the last part is also with that package is collection of hazmat fees or recouping our costs. So about all cities around us, like we run a full hazmat team like everybody else, but like suits that we wear, those things are $3,500, so when you use them, they're gone.
Yeah.
Luckily, most of our plants and industry that we deal with out here, if we go in and we do a hazmat call, well, their insurance company will replace our stuff. Where we run into like tractor trailers on the road out here where you're trying to get some money, it really, some of them will pay it, some of them won't. They don't have to, but so with this thing, I think to want to look at proposing as well, like an ordinance that allows us, the same as City of Greenport, City of Winston, to collect those fees from your insurance carrier, because try to recoup the cost of, I ain't talking about you mom and pop vehicle wreck, I'm talking about like when you wreck a tractor trailer, we spend thousands and thousands of dollars out there just stabilizing, saving somebody to come and clean up. So that's what the hazmat part of this portion is. So I'm done. Thanks, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
No, we say it often, but on a personal note, I would think I echo it for most people. We do appreciate you. We appreciate all of you that serve, the men and the women that serve in the fire and the police. We know you're tired. A lot of us are tired on different levels, and y'all are probably up there a little further. But we care about you. We pray for you. And we want to support you any way we can. But you are appreciated in High Point.
I echo that. Like I said, both chiefs will probably back me on this. At least 2 or 3 times a year, I always just check in and say, hey, how's the morale? How are the troops? Is there anything more we can do as city leadership to show that we support you? We're behind you 100%. And I think that you said it well, that the city respects all the men and women in uniform and all the things that you guys do for us. And I feel we can do, this is proof positive of the new center. I mean, it's just, that's your leadership stepping up and saying, let's give them the tools and equipment that they need. So we just got you a little drone last week, so you have any toy to play with too. So if there's nothing else, we adjourn. Thank you.